Yes, Donald thinks big, which is especially important when considering the presidency of the United States. No room for small thinking, no room for small results. Donald gets things done.
That was Melania Trump last night at the Republican National Convention. Her speech lasted 17 minutes, but controversy relating to her speech came out last night after her comments. Some are accusing her of plagiarism of Michelle Obama's 2008 Democratic National Convention speech. Also at Night 1 in Cleveland, former New York Mayor Rudy Giuliani, Senator from Alabama Jeff Sessions, a loyal Trump supporter, also spoke. So did Willie Robinson of Duck Dynasty fame. Night 2 is tonight. It will feature the Trump children and Dr. Ben Carson. To California politics, now Attorney General of California Kamala Harris picked up 2 big endorsements overnight in President Obama and Vice President Joe Biden. Kamala Harris is running for Barbara Boxer's seat in the United States Senate. Boxer is retiring after 23 years in the United States Senate. Now to weather. Today is sunny with a high of 87. Now to the world of sports. Ports fall last night to Modesto 9-3 in the Battle of the 209 at Banner Island Ballpark. The Athletics last night win 7-4 over the Houston Astros thanks to a Chris Davis 23rd home run of the season. Giants were off as they traveled to Boston today to start a 2-game series at Fenway Park. Sacramento Kings center DeMarcus Cousins says he did not get the Kings NBA draft this past offseason. For your KXVS News and Sports Report, I'm Dustin Brakebill from the KXVS News and Sports Room.
We are live on Stockton 360 KXVS, the voice of Stockton at thevoiceofstockton.org. Soon to be on 92.1 FM on the FM dial right here in the lovely Stockton, California. We're broadcasting from Stone Soup Studios on the lovely Miracle Mile. This is Governor Don.
Professor Jimenez.
Dustin Brakebill.
Mr. Details. That was a great news report. I love that.
I know.
I know. I wish we could update it throughout the day, though. We might get there soon.
Don't worry.
At your convenience.
Pace?
Yes, that's right. That's right. But I want to thank you for that news update. So picking up a little bit of the conversation from yesterday. We talked a lot about the Republican convention that's going on right now in Cleveland, Ohio.
Roll call.
Roll call happened today,
and we have a nominee.
Is there a nominee for the Republican Party?
Officially nominee.
Well, who is it?
Donald J. Trump.
Donald J. Trump. How many times did we hear that today?
A lot. And the funny thing is, Steve Kornacki from MSNBC is one of their big political guys who talks about them. Voted for someone other than a nominee. He has tweeted this out. In 1980, there was 52. 1988, 0. 1992, 19. 1996, 51, 2007, 08, 23, 12, 202. Guess how many this year?
How many?
505.
Wow. That is amazing. So is that the highest ever?
I believe so.
It's 10 times higher than anything in the last 20 years, I can tell you that. Wow.
505.
That's amazing.
And that speaks of how Donald Trump is.
For a unifier, he is very divisive.
By the way, this is most someone other than a nominee since Reagan and Ford in 76.
Yeah. Wow. Well, there's been a ton of conversation today ever since the convention got started, I've been hearing a number of comments. One of them, one of the comment threads is about how kind of vitriolic the opening was, how it was a lot about negative commentary about Hillary Clinton. And of course, the firestorm afterwards was actually about Melania Trump's speech. Suggestions that or accusations that the speech had been partially plagiarized. Did you get a chance to hear the side-by-sides?
Yes, I heard them this morning.
Okay.
They sound exactly alike, word by word.
Yeah, it is too close for comfort. I got some background noise here. Too close for comfort. And when I saw some of the numbers, Chris Christie actually gave up the number of 93%. I think he said 97% of it was original, which is according to, I think it's plagiarism.com, it's something like a 1 in 1 trillion chance that it was coincidence.
No.
Yeah.
Could not be.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So
The tone and the flow.
And you had veteran speechwriters say this last night.
Yeah.
Chris Matthews, who used to be a speechwriter for the DNC and for, I believe, Jimmy Carter back in the 70s, now on MSNBC, and has been doing it for years as a political commentator. He says, as a speechwriter, that they ripped off the 08 speech.
Yeah.
Every word was because speechwriters are probably the most coveted thing in politics.
It is.
And it's the hardest position to actually get
Right.
paid.
Yeah.
And they have these people on staff who get paid and other people who are basically there to write all the speeches at the RNC. So this was a writer who did it, who went rogue kind of.
This is really interesting because this is, it really tells you the sentiment of how politics is nowadays. Back in the day and I'll talk about city politics because I used to write for a mayor, and one thing that's very clear is that you never lifted a word. I mean, maybe I'm exaggerating, but you never lifted anything that was similar to tone or to rhythm. And right there, that is flat F. That if that was an academic arena,
You'd be kicked out.
it's called DQ'd. Like, really, you'll never get accepted because seriously, that is just bad. Bad.
So the response from the RNC, the response from the Trump camp this morning, and maybe you can give me an update, but the last word I heard was not a chance. This totally was not copied at all. It was totally, somebody's words and sentiment, and it's just a coincidence. And, and then even the RNC representative had I guess the gumption to look up these words and find, that John Legend had said some of them and Prince had said it, some others or whatever, and quoting from a children's book as well. But that's just taking like 3-word phrases, the chances of this whole stretch, this over almost a minute of speech being coincidence is just nearly impossible. So why has there been any update on the position of the RNC or the Donald Trump campaign about this speech, or are they still sticking to their original statement, which is basically no, it's totally legit?
I saw on Twitter Donald Trump Jr. Says blame the writers. So maybe
that sounds
he's
like
out
an
of
admission here. Oh man.
Well, they need to buy. No, that's what gets me too. They have all the money to get a real good writer.
They do.
I don't know how this passed even through. Because normally write speeches, for example, like I said, I used to write speeches, right? We run it through a program, kind of like turnitin.com.
Exactly.
Essays are run through programs.
You run it in for
and
plagiarism.
you can tell just by any kind of writing of what percentage is actually copied.
Right.
Okay, so if it's over 20, if it's over anything over 40% copied, that's plagiarism.
Right.
That's it.
And of course, the speech, if you ran the whole speech, you wouldn't find that. But if you ran, that
part.
that paragraph or two, it would have come up with a 90% hit.
Oh yeah.
And so now, again, this is this a real controversy? Is this distraction?
And one of the best speechwriters out there is this guy named John Favreau, not the actor, but he was Barack Obama's speechwriter from 05 to 13, and he basically said he was basically trolling a lot of people on Twitter last night because, well, he's still doing it because he helped write some of these speeches, and he was part of the 08 speech, and I guess
he recognized his work.
He recognized his work and the work he did with other speechwriters. So it's hard to deny that it wasn't plagiarized.
Yeah.
And if it wasn't Melania's fault, it was somebody else in the campaign, and somebody should have knew. Don't people double check these things?
Oh, yeah. There has to be 2-3 sign-offs.
So Corey Lewandowski, who was the campaign manager before...
who, by the way, roll called for New Hampshire this afternoon.
Wow.
Yeah.
He said that that's Manafort, Paul Manafort.
Yeah.
He said Paul Manafort should take responsibility for it. Whoever signed off, quote from, New York Times, whoever signed off, the final sign-off that allowed this to go forward should be held accountable, Lewandowski told CNN. I think if it was Paul Manafort, he would do the right thing and resign. So, big enough to resign for.
And people don't know who Paul Manafort is. He's a lobbyist. So,
right. But he's also Trump's new campaign manager, correct?
So, yes. Yeah. So, yeah, there is there's probably a little, not hatred there between Lewandowski and him, but somebody who basically took his job.
Well, here's my question. My question is a lingering question from yesterday. It's like one of those lingering things that you tried to air out the room, and then the next day you're like, "Is that still in the room?" Is this more evidence that the Trump campaign isn't really a campaign? That it's some sort of diversionary tactic? Like, how could something like this slip through? Yesterday being, and if you, man, I'm telling you, if you weren't angry before you started listening to the convention yesterday, whether you're on, whoever side you're on, after listening to hours and hours of that, especially Mayor Rudy Giuliani, man, he was just about shouting the entire speech.
He was,
and I don't know if they interviewed him afterwards, he probably was hoarse. Is this another sign that this is a non-presidential campaign? Is this a diversionary tactic? I think that is just, to me, basic. They already know they're under a spotlight. They're under a microscope. And, how much effort does it take? The speech wasn't handwritten. How much effort does it take to run it through, a check to see, whether this material jives, see whether it's been replayed. We're talking about Michelle Obama's speech for Barack Obama's nomination. So, it's like the exact same scenario 8 years ago. The opposite party, the party who, there's obviously not just love lost, but absolute disdain for the Obama administration during all of yesterday's convention speeches. Talking about the real reason why you shouldn't elect Hillary Clinton is that it'd be a third Obama term. How could all that happen and yet still Michelle Obama's words end up in one of the speeches? It just seems like a deliberate sabotage, self-sabotage. And it's the same kind of self-sabotage that we've seen all along the line. Like, it's almost as if Donald Trump is trolling his followers. Like, okay, is this are you going to finally switch now after this or after this? Okay, eventually. How much rhetoric? How much negativity? How much bigotry or any of that is going to scare away his followers?
And this also has to do with his staff. Look at his staff. He doesn't really have that much political people on his staff.
Right.
And this shows, basically.
Yeah.
He has people who are in politics but aren't the key players.
Yeah, and they're not political strategists.
No.
And they're not
people have been doing this
experienced,
for years.
Right. Experienced political insiders. So, but isn't that a choice?
Yes.
It's a choice that he has the money to do differently. So Isn't that intentionally? Going back to what Rachel Maddow was suggesting, she posited that this campaign, if you look at the evidence of how they spend money and how money is distributed as far as donations, this campaign looks nothing like any presidential campaign we've ever seen, but it looks exactly like a promotional campaign, a marketing campaign, even going so far as paying his own relatives, paying himself. He literally rented a room from himself for $40,000. So this, that is what promotional campaigns and marketing campaigns do. That's not what presidential campaigns do. So is this more evidence that, I've heard people say, and I don't know details, correct me if I'm wrong, but last calendar year, about October, didn't you suggest, since Donald Trump was a heavy supporter of Democrats and was actually a Democrat years back, that possibly this is all some sort of a ploy? Sideshow?
Kind of a wrestling theme
script? Sure. To basically sabotage the Republican Party. And at the very least, sabotage it enough for... Are people voting for Hillary Clinton, or are more people voting against Donald Trump? Are people voting for Donald Trump, or are more people voting against Hillary Clinton? That's what we heard yesterday. Was the reason why you should vote for Trump is Hillary Clinton. And you know what we heard from Hillary Clinton? Her response is, well, you know what? The reason why you should vote for Hillary Clinton is Donald Trump.
And I guess Alaska's basically contesting their vote right now. So that's what's happening at the
as we speak
convention. So. It's pretty amazing how the Republican Party is basically in a free fall.
It is.
And the main players want to get out of it, and they really can't do anything about it. Did
you think 4 years ago that the Libertarian Party would be the center right, did you ever think the Libertarian Party would be left of the Republican Party?
No.
I mean, that's what we are now, right? We got... Okay, so here's the center parties right now. The extreme right is Republican. Extreme left, I guess you could call that green. Then we got center right as the Democratic Party, and center left and center right as the Libertarian Party. Libertarian Party is sounding more centrist than this new Republican Party. And I don't know if the Republican Party, I've been looking through the history, have never been this extreme.
Haven't been this divided either.
That's true, too.
And when they do get divided, they find people to bring them together.
Wow. I don't know.
If you think about it.
It is free fall, though. And after Mike Pence was selected as the VP, I thought that was the straw to me. It was like, okay, it's very obvious that Trump is not really trying to get elected. To me, Mike Pence is... exactly what could do two things. It could galvanize a part of the base of the Republican Party, but especially the evangelical base, right? But it could totally alienate the nominee from everyone else, which is the majority of America, a majority of voters. It almost, to me, has the same chilling effect that Sarah Palin as a VP nomination, a VP selection did for John McCain. Which literally, that pretty much was the nail in the coffin for his campaign. Only thing would have done him worse was a good Howard Dean scream somewhere. But this Mike Pence VP pick, Melania Trump literally quoting almost word for word from a Michelle Obama speech. This sounds like intentional self-sabotage. Dustin, help me to see that I'm wrong.
It is kind of like self-sabotage right now, and it's kind of weird to see we haven't seen the Republican Party. I think, the nominee kind of like this since 1996, I think, in Bob Dole. Because you had somebody who, you had the wasn't really a favor to try to beat Bill Clinton in 96.
That's true.
And Bob Dole, great U.S. Senator from Kansas, wasn't really the punch that the Republican Party needed in 96.
No, exactly. And he was made famous by speaking about himself in third person.
Which is kind of Donald Trumpish.
It is, isn't it? But Bob Dole is the only former presidential nominee
who was actually at the convention.
Yeah. So we talked about yesterday the entire Bush genealogy is missing. There might have been people who found out they were related to Bush and didn't. Maybe they left the convention.
Older H.W. Kenneton because of his health, and we know about George Bush, and well, he doesn't want to go to these things anymore.
Yeah,
he's kind of been out of it since he quit being president.
Yeah.
And then Jeb hates Donald. Let's just face that.
Yeah, I mean,
and they're never going to get along.
Well, we heard a lot of when we were you talking about roll call today, man. We heard a lot of support for Ted Cruz.
John Kasich too.
And John Kasich is overwhelming.
I actually have the
Ohio.
breakdown of the votes. Let me find it.
Yes. Let's hear the breakdown.
Let me find it.
Now we know John Kasich won Ohio. That's been a point of contention for the RNC, specifically between Trump and Kasich. But I mean, is that too foreign? I mean, we've seen things like this before, right? I mean, there's been some governors and some, House and Senate Republicans that have not supported the nominee before. I mean, I know it's rare, but is what's going to happen with Kasich? Is that Ohio the swing state? Is that the end of the Trump campaign at the beginning?
To win Ohio, you have to win Northeast Ohio, and that's Cleveland. Mm-hmm. And I don't think Donald Trump's doing it right now.
No. Because
John Kasich, you also have a lot of other Republicans that live in that area.
Yeah.
The only way Donald Trump can win that is, well, basically if I think Mike Pence has a lot to do with it because he's an Indiana, a Midwest governor. Mm-hmm. What do they miss in Northeast Ohio the last couple of years? Jobs.
Yeah.
Still work.
Yeah.
And that's something that's going to be out there too because that's the only way Donald Trump has the way to win Northeast Ohio and to win the state of Ohio is to get those voters to go out and vote for him.
Today's theme, put America back to work again.
Yes.
Yeah. So how's that carrying over? Do you think?
He hasn't shown me anything.
Yeah.
He hasn't shown the American public how you're going to get him a job back. He hasn't
it's
shown
going to be fantastic. We're going to have fantastic jobs, and they're going to be fabulous, and they're going to be wonderful, and it's going to be amazing, and we're going to be lots of them, and there's going to be so many jobs.
Supposed to be reading from a paper too.
So many jobs. You'll be turning down jobs.
I'm smiling.
You need more details? Details?
No. It's amazing me how much how he hasn't given a platform.
Yeah.
He has no foreign policy. What is it? To ban every person from coming in the nation?
Yeah.
What is that really foreign policy? I never heard of that before. Mike Pence doesn't really have foreign policy. He's a congressman, but he hasn't been a congressman who's been out there in foreign policy. We saw Joe Biden.
Yeah.
Joe Biden's one of the best persons on foreign policy maybe on this earth. Mm. And Mike Pence doesn't have that.
No.
Look at his record as the congressman of Indiana. Never got a bill passed.
No.
Never put a bill really up there.
True. And then his record as governor is is abysmal. The country went backwards. I mean, the state went backwards.
And the funny thing is, the state is actually probably the most richest state right now in the Midwest, basically because of work. But did he do that, or was it the workers that did that, or the businesses?
Yeah.
And businesses threatened to leave Indiana a couple years ago.
He hurt that state, and I think this is something that people. It seems like some people have amnesia about it, but when it comes to the general election, when it comes to vetting these candidates, when it comes to and have you seen Secretary Clinton's ads now? They are so clever, so well done. They're like almost meme ads, right? Mm-hmm. And they're just right on the money. And even though of course there's plenty of the things to disagree about or to dispute, but how easy is it going to be for her to pick this whole thing apart? This is, to me, I don't know. Is anybody else talking about the Trump campaign as a troll campaign for the RNC? Because that's what I think. And hey, I don't have a political science doctorate or any of that, but
don't need it.
But I'm saying this, to me, is looking ever more and hard to ignore how much it's looking like a trolling campaign. It basically a sabotage campaign.
Sabotage campaign, and maybe on Sunday we'll see Hillary, or the day after this convention, name her nominee right before Philadelphia, and there's 2 names out there still.
Yep, Warren and
No, well, there's a new name out there now.
yeah.
Former Iowa governor, agriculture secretary,
Yeah.
Tom Vilsack,
Okay. Yeah,
And-
Vilsack and of course
Tim Kaine.
Tim Kaine.
Tim Kaine, bilingual, and Vilsack, another Midwestern governor, who else is a Midwestern governor, Mike Pence.
That's true.
So
Maybe that's the
the heartland
balance.
of America.
Well, you know,
And Vilsack's a good attack dog.
we know when once Hillary once Hillary said Cole was dead.
West Virginia. Ooh.
Oh, and the whole Midwest just about dropped the bag on that one. There, you know, it totally just hobbled her numbers. She was going into the polls, you know, looking one way, 10% less on election day in West Virginia. So, yeah, she could use a Midwest boost. That's definitely the truth. You know what? Let's take a quick break. You're listening to Stockton 360 on KXVS, the voice of Stockton. I'm in the studio with Mr. Dustin Details. This is Governor Don alongside
Professor Jimenez.
Dr. Jimenez. And we're going to be right back. We'll be back with some more on this political spectrum. And, of course, we have some other tidbits to share with you. Stick around for more Stockton 360 on KXVS, the voice of Stockton at thevoiceofstockton.org.
Hey, I'm Richard Slezak on KXVS here at Stone Soup Studio, and I am the voice of Stockton. You can be the voice of Stockton too. To be part of KXVS, the voice of Stockton, go to our website, thevoiceofstockton.org, to find out more information on how you can be a part of KXVS, the voice of Stockton. Your voice is our voice, the voice of Stockton. Right here on 92.1 FM. Coming soon.
All right, we're back at Stockton 360 on KXVS, the voice of Stockton, streaming at thevoiceofstockton.org. You can catch our live stream also at thevoiceofstockton.org. Unless you are a subscriber to our YouTube channel, then you're already watching. This is Governor Don,
Professor Jimenez.
Dustin Brakebill.
and we are talking about this GNC.
RNC.
GNC.
He thought about
GNC,
vitamins.
I was thinking vitamins, yes. The
Some protein powder.
GOP RNC convention.
It's okay.
The grand old party. So it turns out, I know that some of you might not have known this, but it turns out Donald Trump is the official nominee for the grand old party.
And you just talked about coal. Well, one of tonight's speakers at the GOP and RNC is West Virginia Senator Shelley Moore Caputo. So she'll probably be bringing up Hillary's record against the coal companies.
Oh, yeah.
And that's big in West Virginia and Kentucky.
Sure enough.
That's how people make their livings.
That's right. That's right.
Wow.
You know, it's really interesting to me. I was watching coverage this morning and last night.
Morning Joe.
Morning Joe, which
He
is Morning Joe getting better? He's getting. I tell you what, he is fired up.
Why can't Joe Scarborough run for president? A Republican who actually gets it.
A left leaning Republican. I don't know if he's a center-leading Republican,
Yeah.
but yeah, Joe Scarborough, he's a lot of fun.
He'll
in
call
the
it his
morning.
own party, and he's not afraid to call it the other party.
Joe party. But I'm noticing quite a difference in coverage from the Fox angle and from the
NBC, MSNBC.
MSNBC and CNN.
Yeah.
And it seems that CNN, MSNBC they're kind of upset. They're kind of upset about this convention. I thought it was real interesting to hear, like the suggestion that oh man, this whole convention is just about anti-Hillary. You know what's about to happen next week. Anti-Trump convention, and of course,
Bernie Sanders on the first night.
Bernie,
They're bringing out the heavy hitters.
I'll do everything in my power to make sure that Donald Trump is not elected next president of the United States.
And I believe
Ooh,
Elizabeth
that was
Warren.
a great
I
voice.
believe Elizabeth Warren's either the second night or third night, so right before the vice president nominee.
Yep.
So that should be good too.
It should be. I think a lot of people have lost the Warren fever. More so than even the Sanders fever. A lot of the Bernie Sanders defectors, and what I mean by defectors are the people who actually have left or intend to leave the Democratic Party and support Jill Stein, Green Party candidate. A couple of prominent people have already supported her, publicly endorsed by, Viggo Mortensen, who played Aragorn in the Lord of the Rings series. Who else? Dr. I'm trying to remember. But, Cornel West, Dr. Cornel West.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, which was big because he was a huge Sanders supporter, even part of the people who were put on the team to shape the Democratic platform, and has totally revolted by supporting the Green Party candidate. I don't know if he's changed his party affiliation, but that is what we got to look forward to next week. It is going to be all about never Trump. We'll definitely see some policy explanations, but one of the things that people have been kind of vacillating around is the trustworthiness of Secretary Clinton. The highest her untrustworthy ratings in several polls are higher than Trump's now. And, that is a big issue. And people are saying, well, even if they do accept these kind of policies on the DNC platform, how can you believe that they'll keep them or implement them? So this is something to look forward to next week. So, I mean, yes, of course, there's a lot of anti-Clinton talk here at the RNC, but don't hold your breath next week and expect you won't hear just boatloads of anti-Trump talk.
And the DNC kind of released a little schedule for next week. Next Monday, Michelle Obama, First Lady.
Oh, man, I wonder if she's going to...
Have her own words written down. Senator Bernie Sanders.
I bet you they're going to be ready after Michelle Obama's speech and going to show every single two words put together that came out of Melania's speech.
Dreamer Astrid Silva.
Yeah.
So that's on Monday. Tuesday, good old Bubba's on the podium. Bill Clinton. So we'll know what he's saying.
Yeah, he's going to say
he's coming out swinging.
That's right.
And people forget one of the best president speakers of all time. So he still has it.
He does. We saw him live over here at the Masonic Hall, and even though there are people there who literally was against Clinton, but still, it's hard not to be impressed by
Bill Clinton. Yeah,
Bill Clinton's speaking abilities.
Also,
he can work a crowd. And
yes.
Didn't he? What song did he come out to?
I forgot what song. He worked a crowd.
He can work a crowd. I think he came out to what's his name? Neptune song. What's his?
So Eric Garner's mom will be on the stage next Tuesday. Also, a bunch of speakers about basically about mothers and stuff who've lost people. Mm-hmm. Wednesday, President Barack Obama. Mm-hmm. Then Uncle Joe Biden also on Wednesday. So the heavy hitters, and probably on Wednesday usually the vice president nominee too. So
yeah, that's why they
then
got
Thursday Hillary Clinton and Chelsea Clinton. So that's the full list isn't released yet, but it's coming probably in the next couple of days.
Well, they definitely have a bigger list of celebrities, I think, than the RNC right now. Of course,
Scott Baio,
Tonio
Sabata Jr., who, by the way, said the president was not Christian last night, so
Well,
that's out there still again.
I guess he has a crystal ball.
Yeah.
Can read minds. But I don't know. It's even though we got those heavy hitters, I think we could expect plenty of anti-Trump, negativity. But I don't know. The more I see this presidential election play out, the more I'm convinced that the whole thing is some sort of a setup. It just look. Donald Trump got the nomination popularly, okay, which speaks more to the mentality of the RNC voters, but also, I think, possibly more importantly, to the power of billions of dollars of free media. Then, of course, we know that there's these elements to each party, and definitely one of the negative elements associated with the Republican Party has been, racism and things like that. And so, this guy comes into the national spotlight and almost says, "Hey, it's okay to be racist. It's okay to be a bigot. It's so okay to do it that I'm going to just do it right here from the top of the mountain." And like, remember when did David Duke endorse him? And,
yes.
And he couldn't find himself to say, hey, David Duke is a racist, and I don't accept or condone any of his support, or I don't welcome it at all, And he couldn't even bring himself to say that, And it's kind of like I don't know. I just feel like I feel kind of sorry for the people who are following him, because I don't think he's genuine. He just seems like he's trolling them. He's making himself more unelectable each week.
He is, and it's going to even get worser.
Worser and worser.
Update on that Melania Trump thing. NBC News, this is from their website. Plagiarized portions of Melania Trump's speech added after speechwriter's draft. And they hired speechwriter Matthew Scully to pin, basically this is from NBC.com, what they said. But a draft copy submitted to Scully campaign shows none of the passages that match Michelle Obama's 2008 convention speech, literally word for word. NBC News obtained a copy of Scully's draft as submitted to the campaign. That text indicates that the passages that appear to have been plagiarized from Ms. Obama's were added at some point after Scully turned in his draft.
Wow.
And Matthew Scully is a great speechwriter. So
Wow.
I think that's more to my point.
And that's not fair to the writer to get blamed for that. His work.
Yeah.
No.
Somebody else had it.
It
was
he's got
her.
Fix the speech.
She fixed it herself. I don't mean to accuse, but you know what?
I don't want to say something, but I want to say something.
Well,
do you think she's smart enough to do that?
Oh, well.
You know what? Let me.
I'm just saying.
Smart enough to pull it out.
Yeah, pull it out and basically do it herself.
You know what? I would think maybe when she read the copy,
Yeah.
it wasn't good enough for her, so
Okay.
she goes, "Let me see."
Or somebody close to her.
I don't know. I mean, I'm speculating.
Yeah.
but-
Well, it's all speculation,
It
even
is,
to this
but-
point.
Well,
Even her
yeah.
own response was speculatory.
Yeah.
It was.
this is funny.
But I think that, to me, it just shows, if it's not intentional, which it could very well be intentional sabotage of the campaign from the campaign.
Somebody in the campaign.
Well, like I said, maybe the top guy.
Yeah.
Maybe the Donald himself. Think about a few weeks ago when someone suggested that $150 million could buy him out of the election, and then that was a Trump campaign insider who mentioned this unprompted, and I'm paraphrasing, but then later on they asked another insider, and the insider scoffed at the number and said maybe $250,000, maybe 250, $250 million, maybe $250 million he might drop out. So trolling the idea that he would quit the campaign for enough money. So what I'm suggesting is the possibility that the whole thing is a farce. We know that Donald Trump was, at least a great part of his business career wasn't, affiliated or associated with the Republican Party. In fact, had deeper ties to, at least publicly, to powerful Democrats. Now there is this meme going out on saying that People Magazine there was an interview with Donald Trump, and he said Republicans are so dumb that I would, if I ran for president, I'd run as a Republican because they're so dumb they'll vote for anything or whatever, they'll vote for me. But turns out that has been debunked, and he wasn't ever on People Magazine, or at least there wasn't an interview on the published. Now of course it might have been something recorded and not published, but. But that does kind of allude to the possibility, even though it was debunked, maybe it is factual. Is this a non-campaign? Is this a counter? Is this an insurgency campaign, anti-Republican campaign from Donald Trump?
And Matthew Scully, he used to be a speechwriter for George W. Bush from 2001 to 2004. So this guy's who's wrote speeches for President Bush, President Quell, Dick Cheney, Vice President Dick Cheney, Vice President Quell. Governors like Bob Dole, or not Bob Dole, but Bob Dole was senator, and Robert Casey of Pennsylvania. But he's the one that wrote that Sarah Palin speech in the vice presidential acceptance speech.
Wow.
But he was told 4 days before Sarah Palin was not, basically they chose her right after. He was actually writing it for a man, so he had to switch everything he wrote to Sarah Palin.
Yeah.
So this is nobody who's not a nobody in speechwriting world. This guy's actually one of the best out there.
And the evidence shows that he didn't include that in the speech.
Yeah, that's what NBC News is saying.
So somebody, according to NBC, somebody added this later.
And I think Donte has the side by side comparison.
Do we got it?
Is it ready? Yeah, I guess it's ready.
All right. Let's hear the side by side comparison. So if you haven't heard it already. This is a side-by-side comparison to Melania Trump's speech from yesterday and Michelle Obama's speech from 2008.
Barack and I were raised with so many of the same values. Like, you work hard for what you want in life.
The values that you work hard for what you want in life.
That your word is your bond, that you do what you say you're going to do.
That your word is your bond, and you do what you say and keep your promise.
That you treat people with dignity and respect.
That you treat people with respect.
Because we want our children and all children in this nation to know that the only limit to the height of your achievements is the reach of your dreams and your willingness to work hard for them.
Because we want our children in this nation to know that the only limit to your achievements is the strength of your dreams and your willingness to work for them.
Okay, so in case you didn't get it, that's where it is, and that is I think that's pretty much the totality of the plagiarized portions. Again, it just can't be. It isn't coincidence. It's not by accident. I think this is a non-campaign. I think this is a.
The talk of coming out of last night was supposed to be about Benghazi.
Yeah,
that totally changed last night.
No, it was
right after the speech.
Yes, it was.
And people who are smart in politics found this out. Basically, somebody on the internet found this out.
Melania Gate.
And it started this, basically goose chase.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you think Trump University allows plagiarism?
Of course.
Okay.
Of course, certainly.
Wow.
Certainly.
I'm just wondering.
Of course, how would they get their documents?
Maybe I'll transfer to Trump University.
Well, I think it's an interesting subject, and it will. There'll be more discussion on it. I don't know if we'll talk any more on it because I think that again, I'm looking for some real meat and content and see what the Republicans have to say later on in the week. I know they got
Mike Pence tomorrow night.
I think they started backwards. I think they got everyone all worked up and worked up anti, and what they needed to be thinking about is bringing people together, and then they could have shot them with the anti-Hillary everything later. But unfortunately, that's what's bringing people to Donald Trump is anti-Hillary, and that's what's bringing people to Hillary is anti-Trump. And that is no way to run a country, and that is no way to select a leader. So hopefully we might see more. Hopefully that lawsuit from Jill Stein and Gary Johnson Jill Stein of the Green Party and Gary Johnson from the Libertarian Party. Hopefully the lawsuit goes through and they'll be included on the debates and at the very least be on every ballot. One thing I think is really important to think about, all of you, everyone out there, all of us who are voting members of society, is it right for you to not know all the people that you could vote for this office? Is it right for that information to be held from you, all the options that you have to choose for president? If you think it's right, then hey, just sit down and be quiet and pick one. But if you don't think it's right, hey, we got to do something about it. We got to speak up about it. We got to make sure our voices are heard. I personally don't think it's right for my options to be excluded. Imagine if we were picking like our health care package, in November you got to choose your health care, right? What if like you only heard like 2 out of 4 options, Will you get the right health plan? Well, if we only hear half of the options for the presidency, are we going to get the right commander-in-chief?
And before we go tonight, I want to mention something real quick. Kamala Harris picked up 2 big endorsements last night.
Oh, yeah?
Perfect.
Barack Obama and Joe Biden. So
the 2 biggest endorsements.
We all know this was coming, so...
Yes.
I'm not saying Loretta Sanchez doesn't have a chance, but...
Yes.
It's looking like Harris as our new senator.
It's hard to beat the establishment and establishment politics.
Thank you, Bernie.
Right. I'm sick and tired.
Or is that Schwarzenegger?
Oh, I'm sick and tired of heading for the chopper. All right.
This is funny.
I wonder what he thinks of Donald.
Oh, man, I'm sure he's the governor is not afraid to say his mind.
Who actually ran something?
Let me ask you this. Have you heard from him?
Nope.
That's what he thinks about the Donald. And if you had heard from him, you'd know exactly what I'm talking about. He would have said something good if he had something good to say. We'll be back tomorrow. We have a short version of Stockton 360 today. A short version, our normal length from before,
Right.
an hour long. But we'll stay tuned for Ralph Furley's musical caravan with our good friend Greg Severi.
But before we end,
yes.
Can I just do one quick community announcement?
Please do.
Okay, so we have an event called The Murder Mystery that's happening Wednesday, July 27. And this is a dinner and show located in Lodi at the Hop-In Smokehouse, 212 South School Street in Lodi. And it's sponsored by no other than a friend of the Voice of Stockton, which is Jim Chong.
Oh, right.
So Jim Chong is putting this together.
Wonderful.
And you're invited to this murder mystery at on Wednesday. Tickets are $40, drink ticket and show included. And if you need to purchase tickets, you can go to www.inmotiontheater.org.
All right. Thank you for sharing that. Of course, we want to thank our sponsors, Restore from Habitat for Humanity of San Joaquin. We also want to thank, of course, Leaders Urban Wear. And, oh, man, the shirts are awesome. We're real excited about those.
Right.
Of course, want to thank the Peace and Justice Network as well. And all of you out there supporting us, we appreciate you very, very much. I want to thank William E. Story as well, our founder. You have been listening to Stockton 360 on KXVS, the voice of Stockton, on thevoiceofstockton.org. Soon to be broadcasting from 92.1 FM with your help and support. We know we'll get there. And we thank you for sticking around and tuning in, and we appreciate all your input. Please do send us emails, messages on Facebook. You can email us at stockton360@thevoiceofstockton.org or drop us a message on Facebook. This is Governor Don.
Professor Jimenez.
Dustin Brakebill.
And we'll talk to you real soon. Please stick around for more quality programming on The Voice of Stockton, KXVS, thevoiceofstockton.org.